cold. That was Albie's first thought when he opened his eyes. The muzzle of a custom M1911 was pressed hard against the center of his forehead. The chill of metal seeped through his skin and into his bones, accompanied by the sharp click of the safety being released. In the stillness of early morning, the sound was almost painfully loud. "You're awake, huh? Little rat from a fallen family." The man holding the gun was Enzo, one of the old capos of the Carlos family. His heavy face twitched with irritation, eyes dark and venomous. Behind him stood 4 broad-shouldered bodyguards in black suits and sunglasses, blocking every exit of the West Wing suite. The display was deliberate, overwhelming, meant to remind the hostage sent from a rival family exactly how powerless he was. Albie merely blinked slowly. His washed blue eyes held no fear at all, only annoyance at having his sleep interrupted. He didn't beg, didn't even bother lifting his head properly. Instead, he spoke in a sleepy, hoarse drawl. "Sir, if you're planning to shoot me, could you hurry it up? But if you're using the gun as a cold compress for my morning eye bags, I should warn you the coverage is a little too small." "You little—" Enzo's face instantly flushed purple with rage. He shoved the barrel forward hard enough to leave a faint red mark against Albie's pale skin. "Do you have any idea where you are? This is the territory of the Carlos family. Crushing you would be easier than crushing an ant." Albie rolled his eyes internally. Of course he knew where he was. After the Leone family suffered a crushing defeat and surrendered territory as part of the truce, his biological father, the family's Don, sent him to the Carlos estate as a hostage without a second thought. Albie was the least favored bastard son. No inheritance rights, no value. A disposable hostage. And in Mafia politics, hostages like him could disappear at any moment over a territorial dispute or a boss's passing whim, stuffed into a sack and dumped into the Hudson River. If death was inevitable anyway, why should he cooperate with these meatheads and their little intimidation act? Right in front of Enzo, Albie lazily rolled onto his side and reached for the half-finished frosted donuts left on the nightstand from the night before. Under the stunned stares of 5 hardened mobsters, he casually took a bite. Sweet strawberry jam burst across his tongue beneath thick buttery frosting. Albie licked syrup from his fingers and tilted his head toward Enzo. "Want one? They're pretty good. Oh, sorry, your gun's blocking my view." "You suicidal bastard!" Enzo finally snapped, finger jerking against the trigger. At that exact moment, the heavy black walnut double doors slowly opened. "Enzo." The voice that cut through the room was low and magnetic, yet utterly devoid of warmth. It wasn't loud. If anything, it sounded elegant. But the instant it rang out, the atmosphere froze solid. Enzo stiffened violently. His fingers stopped dead on the trigger, as cold sweat instantly formed across his forehead. Albie looked toward the doorway. Against the pale light of the corridor, a tall figure stepped into the room. Caius, the new ruler of the Carlos family. Cold-blooded, untouchable. He wore an immaculate black 3-piece suit tailored so perfectly not a single wrinkle could be found. Beneath it was a crisp white dress shirt, and at his throat sat a charcoal gray silk tie tied into a flawless Windsor knot. Thin black leather gloves covered his hands. His face was devastatingly handsome, sculpted sharp as marble, while his dark eyes carried the permanent chill of a man long accustomed to power. Caius didn't even glance at Enzo. He simply walked toward the bed at an unhurried pace. The measured sound of polished shoes against hardwood struck like rhythmic pressure against everyone's nerves. "Boss," Enzo stammered, "this hostage has no manners. I was just trying to—" "Put it down." Caius spoke slowly, calmly. Absolute command wrapped inside every syllable. Enzo clenched his jaw, then reluctantly lowered the gun and stepped aside. Only then did Caius finally look at Albie. His dark eyes swept over the supposed prisoner from above, as though evaluating newly delivered merchandise with a few visible defects. The room held its breath. Everyone in the underworld knew Caius suffered from severe obsessive compulsions and brutal cleanliness standards. Anything disorderly or dirty in his vicinity could trigger terrifying consequences. And Albie was currently a disaster. The bed was a mess. His sleep shirt hung loose at the collar. A smear of pink strawberry jam lingered at the corner of his lips. Looking at the man before him, beautiful as a god and cold as death itself, something rebellious and self-destructive suddenly exploded inside Albie like weeds growing wild. You want to kill me? Torture me? Fine. Then before you do, let me disgust you first. Albie suddenly threw off the blankets and climbed out of bed. Barefoot, he crossed the cold floor in quick steps until he stood directly in front of Caius. Caius towered over him by nearly half a head. Albie had to tilt his chin upward to meet those abyss-black eyes. So you're Caius? Albie smiled, sweet enough to feel vaguely disturbing. Before anyone could react, he reached out and grabbed Caius's perfect charcoal gray silk tie. Boss! Enzo practically screamed, convinced an assassination attempt was underway. But Albie had no weapon. Instead, with both hands sticky from butter, frosting, and pink strawberry jam, he gripped the expensive silk tightly and deliberately dragged his palms down its length. Slowly, firmly. A thick streak of oily pink frosting smeared across the dark gray silk in one ugly line. Several rainbow sprinkles stubbornly stuck beneath the immaculate Windsor knot. A masterpiece of perfection instantly became something ridiculous, sticky, ruined, like a luxury rag dragged through a child's dessert table. Silence crashed over the room. Enzo's jaw hung open. One of the bodyguards nearly dropped his sunglasses. Everyone could already picture Albie getting his neck snapped on the spot. Albie tilted his face up in open provocation. His heart pounded violently from adrenaline and terror, but he still stared straight at Caius, searching desperately for even the slightest crack in that glacial expression. Caius slowly lowered his gaze, first to the destroyed tie, then to Albie's vivid blue eyes, practically screaming, "Kill me." Seconds dragged by. The tension in the room stretched tighter than piano wire. At the corner of Caius's eye, the faintest twitch appeared. He hated filth, violently. At this moment, the sticky sensation against his chest probably felt like insects crawling beneath his skin. Yet, he didn't explode, didn't reach for a gun. Even his breathing remained perfectly steady. Under Albie's stunned stare, Caius calmly lifted one gloved hand to his collar. With smooth, elegant movements, he loosened the Windsor knot and slid the ruined tie free. A custom silk tie worth thousands, covered in strawberry frosting. Without even sparing it another glance, he tossed it aside. The tie landed neatly inside the trash bin in the corner. Then Caius looked back at Albie. He bent slightly, his tall frame casting a shadow that swallowed Albie whole. One gloved index finger hooked beneath Albie's chin, forceful enough to make him lift his head higher while carefully avoiding the sticky frosting. The leather was cold and rough against his skin. It sent a strange shiver down Albie's spine. "Albie." Caius's deep voice filled the silent room, rich and controlled, carrying the suffocating weight of absolute authority. "Your little prank is boring, but if you think this will earn you a bullet, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed." His thumb pressed lightly upward beneath Albie's chin. "You'll probably stay alive in my estate for a very long time." Albie's pupils tightened slightly. Caius released him and straightened. As he turned toward the door, he addressed Enzo and the bodyguards without pause. "From today onward, nobody touches him without my permission." His tone remained calm. "If he wants to die, then in my estate, even getting sick is forbidden." At the doorway, Caius paused briefly, without turning around. "And send every frosted donut in the kitchen to his room. Since he likes them that much, he can eat himself sick." Then he left. Enzo and the others exchanged bewildered looks before quietly retreating after him. The suite fell silent once more. Albie remained standing there, staring down at the syrup still coating his fingers. Then, at the ruined silk tie inside the trash can. His heart was still pounding violently in his chest. But this time, it wasn't fear of death. It was something unfamiliar, something scorching, as though that man had reached down with cold black-gloved hands and dragged him, by force, back into the world of the living.